The Three Brave Goats and the Enchanted Bridge. In a quiet valley wrapped between shimmering blue mountains, there was a meadow so green and soft it seemed like the sky had fallen to the earth. On the edge of this peaceful land lived 3 goats, not ordinary ones, but siblings blessed with clever minds and hearts full of courage. The smallest was named Tilly, quick and curious, always bouncing ahead of her brothers. The middle one, Bram, loved puzzles and plants, always stopping to talk to flowers and sketch trees in his notebook. And the biggest, Garen, was strong as a mountain wind, kind and gentle, with hooves that thudded like thunder when he ran. Every spring, the meadow where they lived turned quiet and dry. The real feast of grass and flowers bloomed across the river on the far side of a glowing old stone bridge, a bridge no one dared cross, because under it lived a troll, or so the stories said. Aunt Hazel, the wise owl, had once warned, "That bridge is not just guarded, it's enchanted. The troll beneath it doesn't only eat goats, he traps time." But that spring, the grass was gone too soon, and Tilly's stomach rumbled louder than the waterfall nearby. Garen stared at the distant hill. "We must cross. No grass means no strength." Bram pointed to the bridge with a trembling feather he'd found. "What if the troll still waits? What if the magic is real?" Tilly trotted forward. "Then we'll find a way, together." As the sun dipped behind the hills, casting the valley in golden pink, the siblings made a pact. At dawn, they'd try the bridge and discover what truly lay beneath. The morning came wrapped in mist. Sunlight pierced through the clouds like golden ribbons, dancing across the dewy grass. The goats stood before the bridge, hearts beating faster than the nearby stream. The bridge was ancient, carved from blue-gray stone, with moss curling around its edges like green lace. It stretched over the Silver Mist River, where the water shimmered as if laced with stardust. Wind whispered through the air, carrying secrets from both sides. Tilly stepped closer. Her hooves tapped the first stone slab. Nothing happened. Bram followed, his nose twitching as he felt something odd, like a hum, soft but constant, under his feet. "The bridge, it's alive," he whispered. Garen squinted toward the other side. No sign of the troll. Maybe the stories are wrong. Just as his hoof touched the first step, a voice echoed from beneath. "Who dares walk my bridge?" It was low and thick like rolling thunder. The stones trembled. Water below surged in ripples. Tilly's ears perked up. She called out, "It's just me, Tilly the Small. I'm too tiny to make a good meal." There was a pause. "Then go," the voice growled. "But I'll take the next one." Tilly looked back, eyes wide. "He let me go, just like in the stories." She skipped across the bridge, her hooves clicking quickly until she reached the other side. The grass truly was greener. Flowers sang with colors. Trees seemed to bow in welcome. Bram gulped. He stepped forward, clutching a charm Aunt Hazel had given him, a silver leaf that glowed softly. The voice returned. "Who steps upon my stones?" "Bram the Clever," he answered, trying to keep his voice steady. "But my brother is much bigger and tastier. Let me pass." A growl rumbled deep below. "Very well, one more, but the last shall stay." Bram hurried to join Tilly, who cheered as he crossed, but Garen remained behind. The air around him grew heavy. He looked down at the stone. "If it's me you want, then I will face you." And beneath the bridge, 2 golden eyes opened. The air stilled. Even the birds stopped singing. Garen stood tall, his shadow stretching across the mossy path. Beneath the bridge, something moved, slow, deliberate, ancient. Then, from under the arch, a hulking figure rose. The troll was enormous. His skin was rough like cracked stone, with patches of moss and vines growing along his arms. His eyes glowed like twin lanterns, deep gold with specks of green. Around his neck hung a chain of old tokens, buttons, beads, tiny shoes, and locks of hair, keepsakes from travelers who'd never returned. "You are the last," the troll rumbled, his voice like falling rocks. "You knew the rules, and still you came." Garen took a step forward. "My brother and sister are hungry. I couldn't let them go alone." The troll sniffed the air. "You smell of bravery and stubbornness." Garen didn't flinch. "If I must stay, then let it be, but I won't be taken without understanding why." The troll's eyes narrowed. He studied Garen silently for a long time, then sat back on a throne of twisted roots. "Few ask questions. Fewer still are brave enough to hear answers." The air shimmered slightly, and the bridge beneath them glowed faintly. This bridge, the troll continued, was built by the worm witches of the north to test the hearts of those who cross. I am its guardian, not by choice, but by curse. Garin tilted his head. You're trapped. The troll nodded slowly. Long ago, I failed a test. I took what wasn't mine. As punishment, I became this. Now I must guard the path, bound by oath to let two pass and keep the third. But what if the third can break the curse? Garin asked. A flicker of surprise flashed in the troll's eyes. No one has ever offered. Suddenly, the wind shifted. The silver leaf Bram carried began to glow brighter across the river. The charm reacted, pulsing in rhythm with the bridge itself. The troll looked toward the glow, and a shadow of hope crossed his face. Perhaps there is a way. The troll's heavy form shifted as he rose to his full height. His voice, though still deep, had softened. If you truly wish to break the curse, you must face the bridge's test, not of strength, but of spirit. Garin squared his shoulders. I accept. With a wave of the troll's mossy hand, the stones beneath Garin's hooves began to glow. Each slab shimmered with a different color: ruby red, emerald green, sapphire blue, and amethyst purple. The troll pointed. 4 stones, 4 questions. Answer truthfully, and you may go. Fail, and the bridge will bind you as it bound me. The first stone, red, lit up. A voice rose from it, gentle but clear. What is more valuable, strength or kindness? Garin didn't hesitate. Kindness. Strength can break walls, but kindness opens hearts. The stone pulsed, then dimmed, as if satisfied. The green stone shimmered next. Would you share your last meal with a stranger who once wronged you? Garin paused only a moment. Yes, because maybe they've changed. And if not, maybe they need it more than I do. A soft breeze passed. The green light faded. The blue stone glowed brighter than the others. If your journey meant safety for others, but danger for yourself, would you still take the first step? Garin nodded slowly. I already did. The stone's glow faded into the river's mist. Then came the purple stone. It flickered uncertainly, as though unsure of what to ask. Then, do you forgive the one who trapped you here? Garin turned to the troll. You mean, do I forgive you? The troll's eyes dropped. He looked smaller now, his voice just a whisper. I was once like you, brave, foolish. Garin stepped forward. Yes, I forgive you. The purple light exploded into a swirl of violet sparks. The air rippled with warmth. The chain around the troll's neck turned to dust. His form began to shift, stone softening, vines falling away. He stood taller now, not as a monster, but a man with kind, weathered eyes. I am free, he breathed, and so are you. Tilly and Bram, watching from across the bridge, cheered. Flowers bloomed across the path. Birds burst into song. The bridge, once gray and cracked, gleamed with silver veins and golden carvings. It was no longer cursed. It was blessed. And Garin? He smiled, crossing at last, as the morning sun lit the hill beyond. With the troll's curse broken and all 3 goats united once more, the air felt lighter, almost enchanted. The bridge behind them glowed faintly, now a relic of courage and change, not fear. Ahead stretched the Meadow of Whispers, a wide expanse of soft, swaying grass and wildflowers that hummed with a strange music. The melody wasn't loud. It tickled the ears like a memory, as if the wind carried voices from long ago. Tilly bounded forward, chasing butterflies with wings like stained glass. Bram, ever observant, noticed the flowers bowing gently as they passed. These meadows are alive, he murmured. Garin nodded. The bridge's magic must have flowed here. Just then, a voice rose from the grass, not frightening, but ancient and warm. Welcome, children of courage. From the center of the meadow, an enormous willow tree lifted its limbs. Its bark shimmered silver, and its leaves whispered like soft rain. Nestled among its roots sat an old goat, her fur snowy white and eyes clouded with time. I am Era, keeper of the meadow, she said, her voice slow and melodic. Few have crossed the bridge of echoes and reached this place unchanged. Tilly stepped closer, ears perked. You knew about the troll? Era smiled. He was once one of us. Long ago he lost his way. Now, thanks to you, his spirit is free, and the meadow sings once more. The ground began to glow beneath the goats' hooves, each patch blooming with their steps. Bram bowed slightly. We only did what we thought was right. And that, said Era, is the first sign of true wisdom. She turned her gaze to Garen. You carry more than strength. You carry leadership, humility, and heart. Garen's ears twitched. We only came here to find better grass. And you found something greater, Era replied. A story worth telling. She lowered her head, touching Garen's horn gently. Light burst in a circle around them. From that moment forward, the three goats would be known not just as wanderers, but as guardians of the path, symbols of hope, compassion, and courage. In the distance, a village bell chimed. It was time to move on. As the morning sun climbed higher, the trio followed a trail that wound through a pine forest just beyond the meadow. The trees stood tall and still, their needles whispering like secrets overhead. The path smelled of sap and earth, and a gentle fog rolled between the trunks. Tilly led the way, her hooves barely making a sound. I smell something sweet, she said with a giggle, like apples and cinnamon. Soon, the pines opened into a cozy valley where a small village nestled among fruit trees and windmills. Smoke curled lazily from chimneys, and laughter echoed from behind cottages with candy-colored rooftops. As the goats entered the village square, curious faces peeked from windows. Then an elder stepped forward, an owl in a red vest, spectacles perched on his beak. By the stars, could it be? The three Gruff? A murmur rose from the villagers. They gathered around, whispering, pointing, smiling. They crossed the echo bridge, someone gasped. They broke the curse. The owl bowed deeply. I am Master Orwin, village historian. We have waited generations for this day. Bram blinked. You knew about us? The tale of the three Gruff was foretold in the Scroll of Seasons, Orwin said, unrolling a dusty parchment. 3 goats of heart, mind, and strength would break the bridge's chain and restore balance to the land. Garen frowned thoughtfully. We never meant to be part of a legend. And yet, Orwin replied, here you stand. The villagers led them to a feast, tables filled with roasted vegetables, oat pies, and buckets of berries. Children laughed, playing leap goat games. Lanterns flickered on poles, painting golden circles on the cobblestones. But as night fell, the air shifted again. A hush fell over the village. A young rabbit with ears too long and eyes too wide approached nervously. There's something in the forest to the east. We hear growls. We see shadows. The villagers quieted. Even the fire seemed to dim. Orwin looked to the Gruff. Your journey may not be over yet. Garen exchanged glances with Bram and Tilly. Then we'll go, he said. Tilly nodded. We've faced worse. Bram stood tall. We're not afraid of shadows. The rabbit smiled faintly. Then maybe the forest won't be either. And so, under the moon's watchful gaze, the three Gruff prepared for the next challenge, one none had foreseen. The forest to the east loomed like a wall, dense, ancient, and nearly silent. Not even crickets dared to chirp. The three Gruff stood at its edge as dusk deepened into night, the only light coming from Tilly's glowing pendant, a gift from the Meadow of Whispers. I don't like this, Tilly whispered, pressing close to Bram. It's too quiet, Bram murmured. Even the wind feels held back. Garen led the way, hooves crunching dry leaves, ears alert. Trees here leaned unnaturally, their branches gnarled like reaching fingers. The deeper they walked, the darker it became, until the very shadows seemed to move. Then they heard it, a low growl. Not close, but not far either. Suddenly, pale eyes flickered between the trunks, dozens of them. The shadows weren't just tricks of the mind. They were real, and they were watching. A voice, like rustling leaves and broken promises, slithered through the trees. You don't belong here. Tilly trembled. What are they? Bram narrowed his eyes. Not beasts, not fully. Maybe echoes of something worse. The trees rustled again, and figures began to step into view. Wolf-like, but too thin, with smoky fur and no pupils in their eyes. They circled the goats, silent, waiting. Garen lowered his horns. We're not here to fight, unless we must. Then a shape larger than the rest emerged from the shadows. It stood taller than Garen, with a crown of thorns and eyes like dying stars. I am Nirik, Warden of the Forgotten, it said. You woke the bridge, you woke the meadow, and now you wake us. We woke nothing, Bram replied, standing firm. We restored what was broken. Nirik hissed, its voice rising like a storm. The balance was broken for a reason. Garen stepped forward. We came seeking nothing but peace and found pain turned into power. If the old ways bring fear and silence, maybe it's time they end. For a moment, the forest froze. Then Tilly, her voice soft, began to hum the melody they'd heard in the Meadow of Whispers. The ground pulsed faintly. The pendant at her neck flared with light. The shadows flinched. Bram joined her, and then Garen. The light grew, bathing the woods in silver. One by one, the shadow creatures began to dissolve, not in pain, but in relief. Nirik growled, stepping back. This forest was mine. No, Garen said firmly. It belongs to Hope now. And with that, the last of the shadow wolves faded into mist. The trees straightened. Birds returned to their branches. And the forest, once cursed with silence, breathed once more. The three Gruff turned to leave, the moon casting long shadows behind them, shadows no longer filled with fear, but with freedom. By dawn, the once haunted forest behind them sparkled with morning dew. A new path revealed itself beneath their hooves, paved with smooth stones that shimmered faintly, as if moonlight had settled inside them. The land is guiding us now, Bram observed. Garen nodded. But to where? As they followed the glowing trail, the hills began to rise, and soon they stood before a towering cliff with a narrow opening at its base. Cold air drifted from within, tinged with the scent of minerals and echoes. Tilly stepped forward. A cave? Not just a cave. A cavern of wonders. Inside, light bounced from walls, studded with crystals of every color. Violet, sapphire, emerald, and gold. The air hummed with energy. Each step echoed with a gentle ring, like bells in a distant cathedral. As they ventured deeper, the tunnel widened into a massive chamber. At its center sat an enormous geode, cracked open like a blooming flower. Its core pulsed softly, almost as if alive. Then, from behind the crystal walls, small creatures emerged, glowing beings with translucent wings and gemstone eyes. They floated silently, surrounding the Gruff with curiosity, not fear. I think they're guardians, whispered Tilly. One of the beings, slightly larger than the rest and crowned with a halo of quartz, drifted closer. It spoke without words, its voice resonating directly in their minds. The land remembers. Bram tilted his head. Remembers what? Harmony. Before the curse. Before the troll. Before the shadows. The crystal guardian extended a hand-like glow, touching the geode's surface. Images flashed before the goats, visions of peaceful rivers, green hills, and skies without storm. Garen stepped forward. Are we meant to restore all of this? You already are. The guardian circled them, then gently lowered something into Garen's hoof, a shard of the central crystal, warm to the touch. This is the Heartlight. When the final door stands before you, place this within it. The land will know. As suddenly as they had appeared, the crystal beings faded back into the walls, their glow dimming slowly. The chamber fell quiet again, the echoes settling like dust. Bram looked to Garen. Final door? Tilly's eyes sparkled. One more mystery. With the Heartlight safely secured, the three Gruff turned toward the light at the end of the cavern, ready to face whatever lay beyond the mountains. And far above them, in the tallest peak, something ancient stirred. The path out of the cavern wound upward, leading the goats to the foot of a towering mountain range. Jagged peaks, crowned with snow, reached into the heavens. The air grew thin and biting, but the light from the Heartlight crystal kept their spirits warm and bright. Is it just me? Or does this mountain look different? Tilly asked, looking up at the rocky cliffs that seemed to twist unnaturally. Garen squinted at the towering peaks. It feels as though the mountain is watching us. The path became steeper, the rocks sharper as they ascended. Winds howled, tearing at their fur, but the goats pushed onward. Their hearts beat with the rhythm of purpose, the Heartlight glowing steadily between them. After hours of climbing, they reached the summit. There, atop the highest peak, stood an ancient stone archway, weathered by time, yet still standing strong against the storms. Here it is, Bram murmured, looking at the arch. The final door. The winds howled louder, as if in warning, swirling around the arch and pushing back at the goats. The air grew colder, and dark clouds gathered overhead, casting the summit in shadow. But the Heartlight flared with energy, lighting up the storm and dispelling the darkness. Tilly stepped forward, holding the crystal shard high. As she approached the arch, the winds parted for a moment, and a voice echoed from the stones, deep and ancient. Only those of true heart and courage may pass. Garin, standing beside his brothers, took a deep breath. We've come this far. We're ready. Tilly placed the shard into a small, hollowed groove in the stone. Immediately, the archway began to glow, the crystal merging with the stone. The ground trembled beneath their hooves, and the air hummed with power. Suddenly, the arch split down the middle, revealing a brilliant, shimmering doorway. Beyond it, the land stretched out in endless beauty, green fields, sparkling lakes, and forests teeming with life. The land had been restored, healed by the courage and kindness of the three Gruff. The goats stepped through, blinking as their eyes adjusted to the brightness. The land felt alive, brimming with energy and harmony. Before them stood a figure, a creature unlike any they had ever seen. Its body was made of light, with wings that shimmered like dawn. It hovered before them, its eyes kind and wise. "I am the guardian of the dawn, the keeper of the land's balance," it said, its voice soft as the morning breeze. "You have done what many thought impossible. You have restored peace to the world." The creature's wings spread wide, and the land responded. Trees grew taller, rivers flowed clearer, and the skies brightened with color. "You have earned your place in the heart of this world," the guardian continued. "You are the protectors now. The story of the three Gruff will live on, not as a tale of fear, but as a story of hope and redemption." With that, the guardian of the dawn gently placed its glowing hand on Garin's head, and the heartlight crystal embedded itself into his fur. The power of the land flowed through him, connecting him to the very heart of the earth. The goats stood tall, knowing their journey was complete. The world had been restored, and they had become legends not of conflict, but of courage and unity. The land was alive in a way it had never been before. The sky gleamed brighter, the winds whispered gentle songs, and the earth beneath the hooves of the three Gruff felt strong, steady, as though it had always been waiting for them. As they stood at the heart of the world they had saved, the guardian of the dawn smiled warmly at them. "You have brought balance to this realm. Your legacy will be remembered in the winds, the rivers, and the mountains. The peace you've restored will last for all time." Tilly gazed at the horizon, where the first light of dawn began to spill across the land. "It feels like we're part of something much bigger now. Like we've always been meant to do this." Bram nodded. "We've seen the land heal, watched it shift from shadows to light. It's not just about what we've done. It's about the choices we made along the way." Garin, now glowing with the heartlight crystal embedded in his fur, turned his gaze toward the sky. "And now, we protect it. For as long as the winds blow and the stars shine, we are guardians of this peace." The guardian of the dawn stepped back, fading into the light, leaving behind only the gentle hum of the land's power. "Your journey doesn't end here, three Gruff. This world will always need its protectors. And as long as you stand together, you will always find your way." The goats exchanged a quiet look, knowing that their adventure, while complete, had only begun. They were no longer just travelers. They were protectors, guardians of harmony in a world reborn. And as they walked away from the archway, the mountains behind them grew greener, the rivers sparkled brighter, and the winds carried their tale far and wide to places they had never imagined. The tale of the three Gruff would live on, not as a story of what was lost, but of what was gained, the triumph of light over darkness, of hope over fear. The world would remember them not just for their bravery, but for their hearts, full of courage and compassion. And so the legend of the three Gruff became the legend of a world united, a world where peace and harmony were no longer just dreams, but reality, the end, or perhaps the beginning.